Good evening. Welcome to Metro Focus. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jack Ford. Pot and power in the state capitol. For the first time since 2010, Democrats have gained control of the New York State Assembly and Senate. And with the blue wave in Albany comes concerns among some New York State counties that this could be the beginning of a green wave and the legalization of marijuana in the Empire State. Governor Cuomo has signaled that legalization is almost inevitable. To that end, Stephen Aquario, the executive director of the State Association of Counties, has said, quote, "We strongly support local governments having a say about legalization in their communities, but it would have to be on a regional level, a county level," end quote. On December 11th and 12th, the Drug Policy Alliance is hosting the Marijuana Justice, Equity, Reinvestment Conference in Albany to discuss all of these issues. Hundreds of experts, both locally and nationally, will gather to focus on how legalizing marijuana here in New York could present a unique opportunity to create equity and economic justice. Here with details on the event is the New York State Director of the Drug Policy Alliance, Cassandra Frederique. Cassandra, it's nice to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about the Alliance first. Give us a sense of what it does, how it got started.
Yeah, so Drug Policy Alliance is a national organization working to really remove the criminal penalties associated with drug use and drug possession. We don't think that the criminal justice system is the appropriate actor in dealing with issues around addiction or dealing with issues around use in general.
I think what's interesting, and I want you to explain it, that I think sometimes these organizations are cloaked with misinformation. And people think, well, an organization such as yours means let's legalize every drug out there. You know, anybody can get heroin who wants to get their hands on it. What's inaccurate about that kind of description?
I think we are definitely the organization that says we should have that conversation, right? So we think that what we're doing right now, prohibition, is not working. It has created ridiculous amount of deaths as we currently are in an opioid overdose crisis, right? A drug overdose crisis. We don't have access to the kind of information that would make it safer for people that do choose to use drugs. We have an incarceration problem where we are incarcerating so many people, disrupting so many families. And we have social service agencies like housing and child welfare in schools acting as law enforcement as opposed to helping professionals. And so for us, we know that we're seeing the nightmare. We're seeing it in prohibition, and we're also seeing it in the ridiculous and inhumane responses that we're seeing from world leaders. And so we are in the worst throes of this structure of how we're dealing with drugs. So for us, we're having the conversation about what is on the other side. Can we decriminalize drug possession and drug use?
How can we
Should we
look at this
legalize?
in
Yeah, how
different
can
ways?
we look at it through different lenses?
And as we know, having conversations is the first step to any sort of
Exactly.
progress. Just give me a quick, I'm going to get to the conference in a moment, what you're looking to, but give me a quick capsulization, if you would, for our viewers. Where are we in terms of New York State and also in terms of New Jersey in terms of this movement to say we're going to treat marijuana differently?
So, you know, for New Jersey had a very exciting week. Their legalization initiative just moved through a very important committee in their state legislature. And so now
bipartisanly, by the way, I live in New Jersey, and I was curious to see how that's playing out.
Yeah, so it just moved through a very important committee. And, you know, what was very exciting about it is that they added a ton of provisions to actually deal with the full scope of the harms of marijuana prohibition. I think it's important for people to realize that we are at this moment not just because we need to regulate a substance, but because we need to deal with the collateral consequences that have happened with the criminalization of that substance. And New Jersey really pushed through for that.
In New York, I mentioned, gotten through, at this stage, in a position, gotten through both houses?
So in New York, we are in a very interesting position where there's a lot of conversation happening and a lot of the right stakeholders are paying attention to it.
The anticipation
both houses is high.
And the governor has said supporting.
And the governor, you know, this past summer put together a work group around legalization where people were supposed to study the issue and also put forward what a legislative answer could look like from the governor's office. And we've actually had in New York since 2013, the Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act, introduced by Senator Liz Krueger, who's from Manhattan, and Buffalo Assemblywoman Crystal Peoples-Stokes have been supporting this bill for a numerous amount of years to try to keep that conversation going. And so there's been already a quite substantial amount of investment in educating legislators. I think in the next couple months, we're really going to have to scale up the education aspect.
Speaking of education, we get to the conference.
Yes.
A two-day conference, as I mentioned, an array of experts coming in to talk about so many different issues. I mentioned justice, equity, investment.
That's right.
What are you hoping will come from this conference?
I think most people, when they're thinking about regulating marijuana, they're often thinking about, okay, how do we get businesses up? How do we figure out who's going to make money? And for us, we're like, you have to regulate this in a way that is reflective of the full harms of this problem.
Okay.
So we have to have a conversation not just about the collateral consequences, but we also have to have a conversation about how do we flip the economic engine of upstate New York, which was actually really pushed by mass incarceration, the carceral strait. We built prisons and jails upstate New York and said that this was going to be a job boon. And that did not turn out. And all we did was cage poor people and people of color, especially Black people. And so we're having the conversation about how do we regulate marijuana legalization? How do we create this conversation in a way that creates economic justice everywhere? How do we start flipping carceral economies into one that's agrarian and more sustainable? How do we make sure that big ag doesn't take over and then we actually give New York farmers a chance, right? How do we talk to, we're having a panel on sustainable production, which is really highlighting the different opportunities for farmers in New York. How do we have a conversation about finance and banking? What does it mean? One of the things that is consistently brought to us is like, how do we make sure that this doesn't turn into a new addictive thing that people are dealing with? So we're having a panel specifically on how do you regulate around public health.
Well, I'm very intrigued by the notion of this is not just about we have to have a conversation, but in some ways it's about how do we have the conversation?
The biggest thing about the conversation around marijuana legalization is not if we will do it, it is how we do it. And that is what is really important. And recognizing that New York, what's so interesting about New York's history around marijuana is that Mayor LaGuardia knew in the 30s that all the hubbub around marijuana prohibition and reefer madness was ridiculous. He called a commission together. And literally at the New York Academy of Medicine are Mayor LaGuardia's papers of a published report that says this is a lot of hubbub about nothing.
So in some ways, New York was in the vanguard.
Exactly.
Back in the 30s.
There is an assembly member to this day that is right now still in the legislature, Dick Gottfried, who introduced the Marijuana Decriminalization Act in 1977, where New York already removed criminal penalties for up to 25 grams of marijuana possession because it said it was a waste of resources, it would erode community trust between community and law enforcement, and was not an effective way to prevent people from using marijuana. We already knew that. And so 40 years later, we're still talking about the same thing.
But we're talking about it, I think, at a different level right now.
That's right.
Again, the great value of this conference is to get everybody together, say, what are the concerns? How do we handle them in a responsible manner?
And the benefit of us not going first is that we get to learn from the other 9 states that did it and do what New York does best. And I'm sorry, as someone who's from New Jersey, I'm from New York. We lead, right? And we want to be the best at it. And I think we have the opportunity, if we have the right conversations about how to do this effectively, comprehensively, responsibly, that we will get justice, we will get equity. And it's not just investment, it's reinvestment in the communities that have been most harmed.
Cassandra, I appreciate you spending some time talking with us, and love to get you back in as this thing moves forward a little bit and we can continue our conversation about it.
Awesome.
You be well.
Thank you.
And for more information on the Marijuana Justice, Equity, and Reinvestment Conference, visit our website at metrofocus.org.